The Knights Templar were founded by Crusaders who wanted to repent for the sins they had committed during the First Crusade. After a few years, they triumphantly succeeded in becoming one of the richest and most influential organizations in the world. During that time, they created a new and very safe way of steadying the income of the European royalty. They were pioneers of techniques of modern banking and military organization. But sadly, they were executed for the very wealth that made them powerful. When the Turks took over Jerusalem in 1065, they started attacking the Byzantine Empire. For 30 years, the Christian kingdoms lost land to Muslim expansion. Finally, in 1095, the king of Byzantium, Alexis I, sent an envoy to Pope Urban II for help. The Pope thought that this was a great opportunity to eliminate the Muslim threat from the Holy Lands. So the Vatican sent out preachers to recruit an army by telling the villagers that those who fought to regain Jerusalem would be remitted of their sins. The villagers left their homes for years of raiding, hunger, sickness, and battle, only to arrive in Jerusalem in 1099 to find that the Christians and Muslims were living in harmony. Ignoring the fact that the local Christians did not need a liberating army, the Crusaders massacred the Muslim population and created several Crusader states. The Knights Templar had their origins among a group of knights who wanted to repent for the slaughter they had committed. These soldiers were first gathered by Bernard of Clairvaux in 1099 and started calling themselves the Poor Knights of Christ, and later the Knights of the Templar of Solomon, or Knights Templar. The Knights Templar believed that the Golden Dome Mosque, known today as the Al-Aqsa Mosque, was King Solomon's final resting place, and this is why they started calling themselves the Knights of the Temple of Solomon, or Knights Templar. They were given permission to make the mosque their headquarters by King Baldwin, a former general and local governor. The Knights Templar were a new phenomenon, combining military and monastic order. Only aristocrats were allowed to join. The Templars took a vow of poverty and chastity like monks, turning over all their possessions to the order, and only living off alms. In 1128, the Vatican accepted their appeal to become an official monastic order, and in 1146 the Templars adopted the white habit of the Cistercians, with a red cross on the chest. Templars also vowed to defend the Christian kingdom as soldiers. The Templars were the first standing army since the Romans, and instituted very strict military discipline on the field, forbidding retreat without permission from the field commander unless they were outnumbered 3-1, and forbidding ransom of captives.
They had a very, very strict rule. It's available online. You should really read it. It's pretty astonishing just how strict it really was. If I remember right, it included things like a Templar who was caught in a room with a woman could be executed. I'm pretty sure that was in there, but if not, it was very close to that. Very, very strict. They were in a lot of ways hardcore monks whose responsibilities involved fighting.
The Templars' cavalry charge could break through the defenses of Muslim armies, although it was difficult to maneuver. The Knights Templar protected pilgrims traveling from Europe to the Holy Lands, and built castles throughout the mountain passes of Palestine. They quickly accumulated many donations of farms and urban property throughout Europe and Palestine in gratitude for their service, and they became very wealthy. As a monastic order, they didn't have to pay taxes and tithes. Within the Templars, only a small fraction were serving as cavalry, with most Templars working on Templar farms and in Templar banking and trade throughout Europe. This was necessary because it took the income from 30 farms to support the horses and armor for one Templar in Palestine. For a period, they even owned the kingdom island of Cyprus. As the world's first multinational financial institution, and to facilitate trade and pilgrimages, the Templars created a new financial instrument, the check. People could deposit money in any Templar church and take the receipt with a special seal to any other Templar church for withdrawal. The Templars developed a sophisticated communication network that brought science, math, and medical knowledge from Muslim lands to Europe.
Another thing that was brought back again via the Crusaders, knowledge of ancient things. A lot of the ancient documentations and knowledge have survived in the Muslim world and been translated into Arabic. a lot of Greek and Roman writings, and a lot of these go back with the Crusaders and get translated back into the Latin.
They built castles and churches from Europe to Palestine and deeply influenced medieval architecture. Some people argue that the Templars were also the first multinational corporation, but Professor Glenn Sunshine disagrees.
Okay, I think it's a bit of a mistake to think of the Templars as a multinational corporation. Corporations exist to make money, and the Templars really didn't. That doesn't mean they didn't make a lot of money.
In 1187, the Templar soldiers in present-day Israel were defeated in battle by the forces of the Muslim leader Saladin. More than 50 Templars were killed, and soon Saladin had control of the Holy Land. This began the long decline of the Templars. In 1244, the Templars were again defeated. Without a role in the Holy Land, the Templars lost their purpose. Suspicion had also grown of Templar orthodoxy because they had so much familiarity with Muslims and Jews.
One of the things that historians see changing in this period, in the High and the later Middle Ages, is a growth of institutions and a growth in the attempt of institutions to define sort of outsiders and insiders.
The final defeat of the Templars involved the King of France, Philip IV, who was in debt to the Templar Bank.
This is the end of the 13th century, early 14th century, when the cost of warfare is increasing. There are changes in technology in terms of recruitment and pay for soldiers. Medieval kings are always strapped for cash. They're always looking for money. They're always looking for ways of making money. And whenever they do so, and whenever they step over a line too far, it gets them into trouble. In this case, Philip IV is looking for scapegoats, and especially scapegoats with money. And as you know, he also went after the Jews, medieval Jewry, who were traditionally involved in money lending. Here's another group. They're a minority. They're a small group. They're very vulnerable, and they've got lots of money, right? And they're also people whom he is deeply indebted to. So same thing with the Templars. So no, there are no doctrinal issues between them. There are no political issues between them. There's nothing like that. It really is very much an economic problem.
Philip had launched a campaign to have the Templars excommunicated, which was resisted by 2 popes. Finally, Pope Clement, a childhood friend of Philip, agreed to excommunicate the Templars, charging them with Satanism and homosexuality. On Friday, October 13, 1307, all the senior knights in Europe were simultaneously arrested and the order was dissolved. The rest of the Templars went underground, disbanded, or became Hospitallers, another order of monk knights. Templar property was either confiscated by the king or the pope, or transferred to the Knights Hospitaller. In addition to laying the groundwork for modern banking and trade, and deeply influencing European architecture, medicine, and politics, after their suppression, the Templars quickly became enduring sources of legend and conspiracy. Many people came to believe that the Templars had hidden treasure, such as the Shroud of Turin and the Holy Grail, when they were persecuted. The Freemasons developed the myth that they were the secret inheritors of the Templars, and there are modern Templar chapters among the Freemasons. Novels from Sir Walter Scott's Ivanhoe to Dan Brown's The Da Vinci Code, video games, and movies such as Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade, National Treasure, and characters such as the Jedi Knights of Star Wars had drawn on the Templar myth. The Templars' spectacular rise and fall is full of irony. Crusaders who had committed monstrous crimes tried to atone for their sins by becoming soldier monks. A community of men committed to poverty and service grew to become the most powerful and wealthy institution in Europe. Their wealth and power eventually brought their downfall when they were threatened the power of kings. In their complete destruction, they became enduring objects of myth and legend that inspire to this day.